In life, we often encounter people whose outward appearance makes us believe they are harmless, even friendly and approachable. They may smile, act kind, or speak sweet words that make us feel safe. But if you are someone who values self-awareness, spiritual maturity, and personal growth, you will recognize that harmless is not always truly harmless. Some people, even unintentionally, have the capacity to pull you into chaos, distract you from your inner journey, and even make you doubt yourself. The frightening part is that many times they are unaware of their impact, as they themselves are grappling with inner shadows they have yet to recognize. Carl Jung, one of the most profoundly influential psychologists, warned that those who appear perfect and radiant on the outside often conceal parts of themselves that are unaccepted, deep-seated fears, or unresolved emotions. They may inspire admiration or comparison, but in reality, that perfect exterior is merely a mask hiding darker fragments of the soul. Recognizing this is a crucial step on the path of personal development, understanding that outward appearances do not reflect the full truth, and learning to distinguish between image and essence. It is important not to judge them, as they too are struggling with their own shadows. The goal here is to protect yourself, to safeguard your peace, clarity, and personal growth journey. By understanding how others' energy can affect you, you will know how to maintain healthy boundaries, stay focused on yourself, and prevent negative influences from distracting your progress. Self-awareness is not only about seeing yourself, but also learning how to choose what you allow to exist in your spiritual and emotional life. 5 types of people to avoid, according to Jung. 1. Rule followers. In life, we often encounter people whose outward appearance makes us believe they are harmless, even friendly and approachable. They may smile, act kind, or speak sweet words that make us feel safe. But if you are someone who values self-awareness, spiritual maturity, and personal growth, you will recognize that harmless is not always truly harmless. Some people, even unintentionally, can pull you into chaos, distract you from your inner journey, and even make you doubt yourself. The frightening part is that many times they are unaware impact, as they themselves are grappling with inner shadows they have yet to recognize. Carl Jung, one of the most profoundly influential psychologists, warned that those who appear perfect and radiant on the outside often conceal parts of themselves that are unaccepted, deep-seated fears or unresolved emotions. They may inspire admiration or comparison, but in reality, that perfect exterior is merely a mask hiding darker fragments of the soul. Recognizing this is a crucial step on the path of personal development, understanding that outward appearances do not reflect the full truth, and learning to distinguish between image and essence. It is important not to judge them, as they too are struggling with their own shadows. The goal here is to protect yourself, to safeguard your peace, clarity, and personal growth journey. By understanding how others' energy can affect you, you will know how to maintain healthy boundaries, stay focused on yourself, and prevent negative influences from distracting your progress. Self-awareness is not only about seeing yourself, but also learning how to choose what you allow to exist in your spiritual and emotional life. 2. Judgers of nonconformity. In life, you have likely encountered people who seem irritated or mocking when you choose to live differently from the majority. For instance, when you say, "No, thank you," to alcohol, smoking, or other common habits, they may give you puzzled looks, laugh subtly, ridicule, or use sarcastic remarks. This behavior is not merely a reaction to difference. It reflects something deeper. You are becoming a mirror that forces them to confront parts of themselves they have never acknowledged or accepted. Carl Jung called this phenomenon shadow confrontation. When you live consciously, remain clear, and choose your own path in an environment where most people avoid or dull their true emotions, you inadvertently expose the shadows they are still evading. Your self-mastery, awareness, and clarity make them uncomfortable, as it reflects their own fears, insecurities, and unresolved aspects. It is essential to understand that this reaction is not personal. When they mock or show disapproval, you are simply reflecting the parts of themselves they reject. They do not want to face this truth, so they rely on judgment, criticism, or social pressure to protect their safe image. Your consciousness and independence become a challenge, an anomaly they cannot explain, which threatens their sense of security. However, this is also an opportunity to enhance your self-awareness. When someone reacts negatively to your choices, remember that it is a lesson to understand human psychology. Those who have not reconciled their shadows often project them onto others. Rather than getting caught in guilt or trying to explain yourself, you can remain calm, affirm your own value, and not let judgmental eyes distract you from your personal growth. Understanding this principle helps you build inner resilience and recognize that difference is not a weakness, but a strength. You become someone who lives authentically while teaching others through your presence and self-mastery that unresolved shadows should not dictate how you live. 3. Controlling helpers. On the journey of personal growth, you will meet people whose presence initially seems like a gift. They are always willing to help, care, and seem to pay more attention to you than anyone else. They cook for you, give advice, check in frequently, and seem to always be there when you need them. Their presence appears invaluable, especially when you feel lonely or confused. However, this help often comes with strings attached. When you begin to become independent or develop in your own way, they may feel abandoned or threatened. This does not always manifest overtly. Sometimes it appears as subtle remarks, raised eyebrows, or behaviors that make you feel guilty. Jung called this the shadow of the caregiver archetype, the darker side of those who help, arising from their need to feel valued through others' dependence. When you become independent, they are forced to confront a deep question they have avoided. If no one needs me, who am I? Help accompanied by this invisible chain can create mental pressure or guilt. Advice or support that seems free becomes an unconscious tool to control you, keeping you within a comfort zone they feel safe in. As you progress, they may make you doubt your abilities, decisions, or sense of freedom, unaware that these behaviors stem from unresolved fears within themselves. The greatest risk is that your development may be unconsciously hindered. These people do not intend harm, but their unrecognized shadows may make them act in ways that limit or constrain you. They teach a critical lesson: to distinguish between love and obligation, care and control, genuine presence and ownership. Understanding this principle allows you to maintain inner strength. You have the right to grow, mature, and create space for yourself, even if it means moving out of the influence of those once foundational in your life. Recognizing these invisible chains is not judgment. It is an essential step to protect your freedom, peace, and personal growth. Number 4, the perfect ones. In the age of social media and digital platforms, we often encounter people who seem to have perfect lives. They wake up at 5 a.m., practice yoga in sunlit rooms, drink celery juice, write gratitude journals, and post photos of beach workouts or million-dollar businesses they run. Everything seems perfect in their eyes: health, work, body, habits, even emotions. They appear as living proof that if you do everything right, think positively enough, and maintain high energy, life will be flawless. But Carl Jung would caution you to look deeper. When someone appears too perfect, they may not have reconciled their inner shadows and are merely covering them with a polished, controlled image. They may be avoiding fears, failures, pain, or unresolved emotions. The perfection they display is a mask, a way to avoid facing unaccepted parts of themselves. The biggest risk in interacting with these people is comparison. Seeing them having it all may make you question why your life feels messy, why you still worry, make mistakes, or have not achieved the same success. Over time, this can make you doubt your abilities, undervalue yourself, and feel inadequate. In reality, imperfection is normal, and it is precisely failures and pain that cultivate maturity and depth. Understanding this principle helps protect your confidence and inner growth. Instead of getting swept away by others' perfection, recognize that outer perfection does not equal inner completeness. You have the right to accept your own imperfections and walk your path without comparison or invisible pressure. The key lesson is learning to separate inspiration from pressure. The perfect ones can inspire positive habits, but should not make you doubt your worth or capabilities. Jung reminds us that the path to truth and growth is not decorating the shadows, but facing and integrating them, accepting both light and dark within oneself. Number 5, spiritual bypassers. In the world of spiritual and personal development, we often encounter people who appear as masters or guides. They speak of energy, chakras, vibrational frequency, and offer countless quotes, mantras, or philosophies to guide others. Outwardly, they seem to have reached absolute peace, liberated from suffering, and view life with calm sophistication. When seeking advice or support, they seem like someone to turn to. However, this behavior has a dark side that Carl Jung called spiritual bypassing, using spirituality, philosophy, or positive energy to avoid true emotions instead of facing and integrating them. These people may say, pain is an illusion. It's all karma you chose. Let go, your frequency attracts everything in life, or other seemingly gentle philosophical statements that actually distance you from your own feelings. When you share pain, they use philosophy as a shell to hide the fact that they do not want or do not know how to face discomfort, sadness, or their own hurt. The risk is that you may begin to feel your pain, disappointment, or loss is your fault, something you created for yourself. Instead of empathy and understanding, you experience guilt, judgment, and denial of your right to authentic emotions. When pain is over-intellectualized with quotes or mantras, you do not learn to process emotions, and true spiritual growth is blocked. Jung emphasizes that true spirituality is not about escaping darkness, but walking with it, recognizing, confronting, and integrating it. A spiritually mature person knows that suffering, disappointment, anger, and fear are essential aspects of being human, requiring acceptance and understanding. Instead of turning pain into a distant philosophy, they accompany you, listen, witness, and empathize without forcing you to explain or bypass your feelings. Understanding this helps you distinguish authentic spiritual guidance from spiritual bypassing. When interacting with those who use philosophy to avoid feelings, maintain your right to experience yourself, honor genuine emotions, and know that integrating your shadow is the path to freedom, growth, and deep awareness. Looking back at the 5 types of people Jung warns about, one common thread emerges. They all harbor denied shadows, unprocessed emotions, fears, and unintegrated aspects of themselves. These shadows are often unrecognized or unaccepted, and instead of confronting them, they unconsciously project them onto others. When engaging with them, you may feel pressure, doubt, blame, or reprimand. But in reality, it is merely a mirror reflecting the parts they have not faced within themselves. It is crucial to understand that they are not enemies. These people do not exist to harm you, but to help you recognize yourself. Every controlling behavior, judgment, or unconscious pressure you experience from them is a reminder. This is where fear, self-doubt, or controlling instincts still influence you. You may identify parts you have avoided, aspects you have not had courage to face, or unconscious habits you use to seek safety. Every trigger, reaction, projection, or judgment you encounter from others is an invitation to look deeply within. Instead of blaming or resisting, Jung reminds us to use these experiences as opportunities for learning and self-awareness. They reveal where you are not yet free, where you remain bound by fear, need for approval, or control. The real work, according to Jung, is not changing or fixing others. It is to embrace and own your own shadow, recognize unaccepted parts, and integrate them into your whole self. When you do this, the influence of others' shadows on you diminishes significantly. You are no longer easily pulled into pressure, guilt, or self-doubt. True resilience and autonomy arise when you can maintain inner peace despite external influences and the reflective mirrors of others. Jung points out that owning your own shadow brings freedom, clarity, and the ability to live authentically, no longer controlled by the unintegrated shadows of those around you. This is the path to genuine growth, where you not only understand others, but also deeply understand yourself.